RTD Live Talk, Detroit's number one late night YouTube talk show. We are live for a Tuesday night edition of the People's Talk Show. Excited to connect and looking forward to finding out what's going on in your world. What are you keeping an eye on the first day of the month? So, welcome. I hope everyone's doing well. As always, for those that might be new to the community, I want to give you a chance to let your presence be known. So, when the phone lines open up 313-462-0027, feel free to give me a call, as well as let me know in the chat where you might be watching from. We'd love to acknowledge your presence and welcome you to the fold. And I got some stories I want to touch on that, other than hearing about it this morning, it will fly by the radar unless more people bring it to the forefront. And it has more to do with the lies that has been thrown out there by the central bank, the Federal Reserve, as well as how Congress at this point could really care less as to what's really going on, just because the milestones are continuing to be set with the debt creation, currency creation, all designed to prop up this current system and keep things moving relatively moving forward, regardless of the consequences as to the amount of damage it's going to do for the population and for the world, for that matter. But I'll get into that in a moment. Because we have surpassed $30 trillion of our national debt, which it doesn't seem like anybody really cares, just because it has to continue to go up or else. But there's some other numbers I want to throw at you guys as well, just to give you an idea as to how severe this is, because we always have known that the amount of currency in creation, other than what we're being told, is just a small portion of what has really been created. And I got a little video clip I want to share with you guys in a minute, but let me stop rambling. Get into some articles here. We got Monkey King checking in. We got and Tang, if I'm not incorrect. It says almost 50. We got Jay. We got DC Precise. We got George checking in. We got Jason, JoJo. What else we got here? Crazy Truth. We got Chase checking in as well. I want to move to Mars so my little stack has more weight with additional gravity. Yeah, good luck with that, man. Lightning 4D. We got Jane. What else we got here? We got Kenneth checking in. All right. Appreciate everybody, man, for blessing me with your presence. Wilbur checking in. If you don't mind, hit the thumbs up button. Hopefully that'll help notify a few more people, because as always, the YouTube algorithm don't do a good job of letting people know that we're streaming live. Someone said I'm buffering. Let me know if I am or am not buffering, but okay. More people being notified, looks like. But we got Paul checking in, George, the great FOMO. Trudeau said he's not intimidated by the truckers, so I don't think that protest will go anywhere. Yeah, on top of that, Trudeau can talk all he wants from some underground or undisclosed location. But once again, I think there'll be more of a pushback by the population as his coward behavior really fuels more of the flames, in my opinion, because I had a chance to listen to a clip of their parliament. I think it was yesterday or today or yesterday, or is it today or last week? But there's an extreme amount of bickering amongst the left and right paradigm in their parliament there. So it's going to escalate more. And I think it runs the risk of getting out of control and there being some serious disruption, which eventually will make its way here to the United States of America, because I'm hearing more about a convoy of truckers looking to do something similar, I think from California over to DC. So we'll see how that goes. But let's keep it moving. So I want to just basically start off by going through a couple headlines, but I want to make sure I touch on the historic milestone, which is not necessarily a good thing when it comes to debt, because the issues we're having is all due to debt and the privatization of our national currency, aka the Federal Reserve note. And so I want to just real quick shine some light on this subject matter here. So as of right now, as of this month, we surpassed the $30 trillion mark. And so as I was thumbing through this U.S. debt clock, it's been a moment since I've had a chance to glance at it, but a lot more options have been added. And of course, there's more red than green. But yet, when you just look at the total amount of debt that has been publicly stated that we are able to keep track of, according to the information given to us here, we got 30 trillion national debt. That's pennies in a bucket. We have interest being paid at this current moment is $3.3 trillion. Total U.S. debt is $86 trillion. Go out to the bottom. We got U.S. debt held by foreign countries, 7.8. We got Social Security at 21 trillion, Medicare liability at 33 trillion, US unfunded liabilities is 164 trillion dollars. So the debt continues to pile on. But what caught my attention that really shocked me, or it didn't really shock me, but it was just interesting to hear how more information is being given now about the amount of currency created over the last 2 years, as well as the currency created over 10 years ago with the great financial crisis. And so before I dive further, I want to play a little video clip for you guys. It's about a minute and a half or so. And then I'll also point to some additional sources for you guys to go check it out. But for those tuning in, listen to this short clip here by Glenn Beck, because this information here, I think he's the first to break this out. And when I heard it, a lot more things came to mind, but let me play this first and then we'll jump right into it. Let me add this to my screen.
So we're just adding money, but it's on our books. We're just going to print and digitize some money, and we're just going to buy some stuff, okay, from the banks. So they already had almost $1 trillion from us, the taxpayer, and then the Fed said we're going to do $3.5 trillion to the banks. That's what they told us. Small problem with those official numbers. They're complete and total bullcrap. Levy Economics Institute is the one that got the FOIA, and they have the findings. And let me give you the truth of what the Fed did. Between 2008 and 2010, the Fed bailed out the banks. Now, they said they'd give $3.5 trillion. Well, Citigroup, it's almost nationalizing Citigroup. Citigroup got $2.5 trillion. Morgan Stanley got $2 trillion. Merrill Lynch got $1.9 trillion. Bank of America got $1.3 trillion. But that's not all. We gave billions to the Bank of Scotland, Germany, Switzerland, the UK, France, Belgium. We gave $3.7 trillion to Japan, $1.4 trillion to the UK, $1.3 trillion to Germany. We bailed the world out to the tune, you want to know why they needed 10 years? To the tune of $29 trillion. They digitized $29 trillion and didn't tell you a damn thing about it. And they gave it to people all over the world.
All right, so there you have it. I thought that was something worth bringing to our attention, because that was 29 trillion that was created and put out into existence 10 years ago. That was under the books. It was disclosed from the public due to the Federal Reserve going to the Supreme Court requesting that this remain under the wraps for 10 years. And as of recently, due to the Freedom of Information Act, it was released. And so we were told 3.5, but in actuality, it was 29 trillion. And then what else came to mind after I saw that clip was Catherine Austin Fitts talking about, once the audit was done with Dr. Skidmore, did the books of the Department of Justice, the military budget, and all those other balances that were given to those institutions, that was to the tune of 21 trillion. And so you got 29 trillion, 21 trillion, all created out of thin air, sent out into the world to prop things up, to paper things over, to keep this thing going. And then to piggyback on that more, I'll just share with you a little bit more in that little 6-minute clip. Let me put this back on the screen here. So if you actually go to Glenn Beck's YouTube channel, it's called The Hidden Data from the Fed, should be today's biggest story. This was actually over the weekend, but he goes on the rest of this video here to talk about what has happened most recently with the introduction or the reintroduction of the QE back in September 2019. And we're talking about how he said that something broke then, which of course a lot of people were saying at that time, something broke. And since then, with all the additional accommodations provided, he basically said that well over $90 trillion has been pumped into the system to support the banks. And of course, just recently more information came out as to who got some funds and things like that. But yet, mind you, they're still lying. And so if that is true, that a total of 90 trillion or so was given out, if you tally up all that reverse repo activity, because he's basically saying that nobody will ever be held accountable or reliable to be forced to pay that stuff back. So literally it's just a free hand-me-down from the central bank. So that's $90 trillion if that turns out to be correct. Of course, we won't find out about that for another 10 years due to the Freedom of Information Act and stuff like that. But just think about that, like how bad things really are, and we have no clue. And as of right now, there's still relatively calm, time frames right now. Not, of course, inflation, they say is 7%, whatever. That is a drop in the bucket in comparison to what the numbers will be if all that currency that was created actually makes its way into the market to where people start that stuff starts circulating. And so I thought that was extremely worth bringing to your attention, just because, wow, it blew my mind just to hear how the word trillion now is tossed around like it's, basically pennies in a sense. And then this goes back to something I said a long time ago as to how much currency would be needed to try to prop this thing up. And I always point to the extra pyramid, just because this right here indicates the total amount of risk from the most riskiest financial product that has been created all the way down to where the least risk is in your own physical possession, of course. But yet this up here, notional, is close to $2 quadrillion. So if they literally created $100+ trillion, in the last 10 years, they still have, 1.9 or so quadrillion dollars that they could try to sneak into the system. And I don't think there's no way you can hide quadrillions being created to prop up and to paper over prior mistakes that's all caught up in this crap up here. So yeah, it spells trouble ultimately. And so that's why I always preach and harp on the importance of understanding the difference between the Federal Reserve notes and the constitutional dollar when I say get your weight up. And so just something worth continuing to just harp about, because the numbers will continue to climb, because there's no way of this stuff going away. And then to piggyback on this more, just to point, I want to point to you guys something that is worth you guys checking out if you haven't. But today, Mike Maloney did a video in reference to the follow-up from David Hunter, who talked about the potential melt up this year, and he tweeted today saying that as of now, there's a lot of positive activity in the stock market. Of course, that's used as an indicator for the health of the economy. That's how they want to paper it, or paint the picture as. But anyway, so he's talking about the melt up. So this video today was in response to the likelihood and possibility of a 80 or 90% correction in the equities market, stemming from David Hunter's interview with Adam Taggart. So it's something worth checking out. But Mike Malone did a great job laying out as to how there's been a 90% correction in the past. And he showed his graphs going back to the Great Depression, and how from the start of the Dow Jones in 1880 or whenever it started up until that point, 1930, once that 90% correction occurred, it wiped away all the gains that was ever accumulated up until that point. And so he's basically making the point that if it happened before, it can happen again. And so that was just more of his case as to how things are really, really bad if you look at things from a bigger picture. So anyway, just a couple more articles here that open the phone lines. Curious to hear what else you guys keep an eye on, and we can keep it moving. So just some things that caught my attention on the front here. Here's just some information. And this right here could be this could be more of a domino to cause some issues with the markets. So Bernie Sanders is livid after Manchin declares the Build Back Better dead. And so as we ended 2021, the Build Back Better bill was the primary focus point of all the politicians, especially the left. They wanted to get that thing rammed through. And as of right now, Manchin came out today and said that basically that bill's dead. Just put it on ice. It's not happening. And within that bill, I think was 1.9 trillion or 1.2 trillion. So literally, people, we haven't had any large stimulus packages since I think it was March of last year. So the economy is starting to run on fumes right now. And there's a lot of uncertainty and doubt around what the Federal Reserve is what they're saying they're going to do, of which we'll see if they're able to pull that off. But it looks like even confidence in the Fed being able to hike rates, dial back, tighten, whatever they call themselves trying to do, is not too positive when you look among some of the too big to fail banks, as they're also issuing warnings as well. So here's another headline. It said Goldman slashes 2022 GDP forecast again, warns of a sharp sharp deceleration in growth. And of course, we know Atlanta Fed came out and readjusted some things for the anticipated GDP for the first quarter. And as of now, we're definitely nowhere near where those forecasts were in the prior times, but it's closer to 0%. So basically, we're trending negative right now with the actual health of the economy, causing more people to have concerns. And here's another article here. This was from last week, but I want to jump on it. It says majority of Americans expecting more inflation going ahead. And of course, like always, there's more pictures surfacing of empty shelves, especially in Canada. So something fishy is definitely going on. And then here's another one here. It looks like things are going good for some people. It says super yacht sales jumped 77% last year as inventory shrank. So the uber wealthy that's been benefiting off all this accommodative policy has been buying real things, probably to get out of Dodge when stuff hits the fan. And on top of that, I can't move any further without talking about the war drums that's continuously beating. So here we have the Pentagon discussing more Europe deployments amid the Russia-Ukraine tensions. This stuff is not going away. They're going to use this until probably something jumps off. Here's another one here. It says U.S. delivers 500-ton weapon shipment to Ukraine as Blinken and Lavrov talk. So they're actually shipping out ammunition right now. So you wouldn't be going through all this trouble unless the U.S. shadow government somehow, some way will definitely start something with some type of false flag event and blame it on Russia. We know how this goes. So it's just more of the same, just a different day, people. But yet, just hearing these staggering figures of 39 trillion for the last great crisis, what do you actually think would be needed to try to keep things relatively stable for this next market situation that's underway? I'm curious to get your thoughts. So let's talk a little bit. Let me open the phone lines. JBW, I appreciate you, my friend. It says the information Glenn Beck was reading is also in a book called The Money Mafia, written by Paul Hellyer. It's on page 84. Great book. Everyone should read it. Good recommendation, my friend. That information there should have definitely surfaced well before now. Maybe it has, but you'll never hear about that type of stuff on the mainstream news. But appreciate you, JB, for bringing that to our attention. But yeah, I definitely expect an easy 5 to 6 trillion based upon the first week or two time frame of some event. And of course, it won't be enough. So it'll just, next trillion. We may get to the point where we will see maybe $5 to $10 trillion a month type of thing, because at that point, it game over. It's checkmate. It's going to be a race to get out of anything denominated in currencies, fiat currencies at that. And then all hell will break loose. All right, let's get to some thoughts here. It says a fertilizer fire only will create more food shortage. TB, great point. I was just reading an article about no, actually, let me see here. Nope. It was let me pull this up. I was looking at a tweet from Tavi Costa, and he was shining light on that with a visual aid. And just talking to the wife, he telling her like, yeah, this stuff right here is not going to end well. This summer and spring might be very interesting. But here's that graph I was showing. But it says this is from Tavi. It says another breakout on agricultural commodities as ammonia prices make new highs. Pay close attention to this. If it's just getting started, big implications in food prices still ahead of U.S. So yeah, it's going to be a interesting spring and summer. On top of that, right now we have a snowstorm heading towards Michigan, if I'm not mistaken, to where it's supposed to snow 10 to 12 inches per day for the next 2 days. So we'll see how that impacts things. But already they're calling off school and shutting down stuff and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, man. But anyway, enough of me ranting. Let's open the phone lines. Curious to hear what's on your radar. Of course, we got stuff in Canada. We got the universal healthcare bill that failed in California. You name it. And on it looks like, I want to just definitely point this out real quick. It looks like today, silver jumped out, went to 23 flat, and they slammed it down. Gold got up above 1800. It was up above 1800 throughout the day for most of the day, and they slammed it down just within the last couple of minutes or so. So we see that the fight is on to suppress the true discovery of the nominal price for those two assets there, because if it was to surface, you couldn't continue to create trillions upon trillions and people actually take it seriously, and people actually would not even want them things. All right, let's keep it moving, people. So give me a call. Phone lines are open. Curious to hear what else is on your mind. Uh, let's just touch on it, man. Let's keep people informed. And also, if I got any of my people in Canada tuned in, definitely let me know what's on the ground, what's happening in Canada, because I saw another little article. Let me grab this real quick. Let me see where to go. Let me shoot. Do I grab it? Let me grab it. So I saw a picture that somebody put in the. Let me see. Let me grab it. Somebody put a picture in the Discord page that I had to show. Let me copy this link here, because this right here, you know it's serious when the Amish come out. So here's a little clip, a little picture here talking about the Amish. It says, great story about the Amish. When the convoy came through my hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, the Amish were there to greet the truckers with a full barbecue supper for 800 people. But when the Winnipeg police would not let the convoy stop at the desired location, the Amish packed up their barbecues and food, hopped in their trucks or buggies, and they drove 2.5 hours with the convoy to cook them food at the next stop, all in negative 30-degree weather. True patriots of freedom. Just thought I would share this. So we got all these buggies here out on the road. So when the Amish come out and protest, you know something's getting real. But anyway, let's keep it going. Tony B said, how did the Amish know? I'd imagine, news travels fast. And even though the Amish, they don't have electricity, rather, some of the Amish actually probably, engage in city life through work and needing to go pick up tools and supplies. So, no doubt that word travels fast. So, but they join in the fight too. So the question is, how long before it comes to the U.S.? Will we see some truck convoys if we don't already? Somebody let me know if you know of any movements like that, because they're coming if they're not here already. Full of Hope says CCP has pleaded with investors to wait until after the Olympics. Evergrande has still to play out. I think it could be bad. Yeah. Evergrande is not going away. And it looks like, based upon, I actually had an article. Let me grab the article real quick. I actually had an article talking about the government looking to definitely step in now. Let me forced to sell. Let me see. Evergrande seeks may be forced to sell land. So Evergrande will it collapse. So I saw an article earlier just talking more about how, basically the PBOC, G, they all getting involved to make sure that they don't allow the Evergrande and all the other real estate companies to be the pin that pricks the global bubble. So whatever they're going to do, they're going to try to contain it for as long as they can, probably until some event happens. I'm still going to stick with that until we get through this year. If we can get through this year without there being some type of systemic event that takes place, God help us, that'd be great, because that definitely gives us more time to have relatively calm markets to be able to do continue to do what we're doing now, as far as basically preparing and doing everything we can to withdraw ourselves from the system, get our weight up, prepare in any form of fashion we need to, because once stuff hits the fan, if it does hit the fan the way that I think it will happen, there'll be no order to anything. Everything will just be complete chaos at some point. So, all right, keep it moving. Great FOMO says the Amish in my area allowed to use tech smartphones for doing business. Yeah, the Amish in Michigan, they do some great work. One of my family members had like a pole barn built, and they did a heck of a job. They built that boy quick, and it was it was a nice little project. So they did their thing. All right, keep it moving. Let me see here. What else is going on? So I want to definitely touch on the food situation. Based upon what's happening in Canada, there's been buku pictures surfacing on the shelves being bare. And even here in the U.S., more people are posting pictures of empty shelves. And even just like with this past weekend, going, grocery shopping, of course, try to stock up on meats whenever I can. I look at the sticker prices, and I know my ground turkey was $1.50 more. So that definitely was more than a 20% increase on my turkey. So of course I still bought it. But yet at some point I'm on, I have to make a tough decision as to whether or not I'm going to continue to buy my ground turkey or not. But that's just me. What it says here, so I see a lot of talk about the Amish. The Amish are secretly aiders that bad advanced technology, but whatever we look in, they act like they normal tech-free humans. Yeah, they're a different breed, but yet they've remained to they've managed to some of them anyway remain isolated from the events that unfold in regular society. And also, I was watching a one of the health videos on Rumble or BitChute, something like that, and I forgot who. I think I posted it in the Telegram, but it was talking about the race of people most impacted by those things and the least impacted as far as their genome sequence and all the stuff from not having anything to do with prior vaccinations and any of the Western world medicine. Because they stayed away from that stuff. As far as the impact that the injections have on the body, the least affected are the Amish, as if like they have no care or concern whatsoever of this whole any variant of any kind impacting their bodies, just because they haven't been subjected to Western medicine with flu shots and nothing like that. So they are the least impacted. We all knew that. But then the second least impacted was, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say it was some form of the Jewish sect. I think it's the German Jewish population or something like that, were the least impacted, according to how the injections would impact the body and stuff like that, all the way up to where the most impacted was like a certain country within Africa, and then America, then Europeans were heavily impacted as well. And so the middle tier happened to be the Western nations. Those are the people who, if that injection stuff, the long-term side effects would impact those people the most. And so that was quite shocking to see that they've been able to pinpoint down to the exact race who those injections would cause the most damage to. And it happened to be the people who are in the developed worlds. Anyway, keep it moving. It says time to get my tequila up. What do we got here? Hi, let me see here. LBP, churn out. What else? So this guy here says haven't seen much empty shelves in Ontario. All right, that's good news. Mike, don't forget to add 120 trillion to the total. XRP currency, which one are you referring to? What additional 120 should we add to that total number? Let me know. But that's the thing at this current moment, because I was pulling out this earlier. Let me know if you're referring to something on here or something that we don't know about just yet. So for those that might be tuning in late, I was showing a video by Glenn Beck where he listed all the bailouts and where they went back in for the great financial crisis to the tune of $29 trillion, when the Fed told the world that it was only $3.5 trillion. So that was well understated, to say the least. And then within the last 2 years, he's saying approximately $90 trillion has been put out there to support banks globally of all kinds. And of course, that's sealed information. We wouldn't find out about it for another 10 years, just because that's some top secret stuff that they wouldn't want anybody to know. What else we got? Let me see. It says Dark Horse podcast on YouTube is great. All right, not familiar with them. It says now that the U.S. debt has hit 30 trillion, what happens now? Don't be a menace. The same old thing, nothing. And that's why I said, but who really cares? Because these numbers here don't really mean much when confidence is in the currency is still high and it still spins, and the world is kind of trapped because all the debt that they have that sustains their economies is denominated in debt. And so they can continue to churn out currency until there's some form of a literal reset. I mean, this Ponzi scheme of a debt-based system can go on until they decide that it's time to switch it, because at this current moment, your average Joe don't know what's going on. So they're going to continue to spend and keep and save in this instrument that has been completely weaponized against the world. And so nothing will change. We can probably actually, they're going to, I mean, the Federal Reserve, after the next little crisis happens, they're going to create another 9, 10 trillion quick as ever from what we see, not to mention what we're not told. So this 30 trillion can easily get to 50 trillion, 60 trillion until, because it's a confidence game at this point. Yeah. And so let me see. It says David Hunter is calling the S&P melt up to 6,000, then it crashed. What do you think? I think 100% great. I actually talked about that a little earlier. Let me go back to my prior tweet in reference to David Hunter, because the melt up, as he tweeted today. So David Hunter tweeted today that the melt up is starting right now. And of course, we see Google numbers came out favorable and all that stuff. So we could start seeing some type of acceleration forward, because that's a false confidence in the system. And of course, the mainstream media is helping with this continuation of this bubble economy we're in. So I can see definitely a trend upward. I can see some all-time highs in all the major indices, because that's what the world watches as a false sense of economic development and growth. But I can see a melt up, and then I can see a crash for sure. And just to piggyback on that interview, let me show you here. So this is what you're referring to. The interview from David Hunter. I definitely follow him. So I'm probably going to reach out to him this week and have him on the show, have him on for a live chat. Let me know if you guys want to have him on for RTD Q&A. But I want to show you real quick how today Mike Maloney did a video to follow up on that same melt up, then crash 80% theme. And Mike Maloney did a great job laying out through history, the Great Depression. There was a 90% correction that wiped out all the gains prior to the Great Depression. And it took decades for it to fully recover, in reference to, inflation adjusted market growth activity. So it's definitely possible. If it happened again, if it happened before, it can happen again. So it's definitely possible. I don't doubt it could happen. But then also, why I think it's more likely to happen in this decade time frame is because it coincides with the central banks and government's desire to reset the system. And so don't forget, Janet Yellen last summer talked about the need for a Bretton Woods 2.0 moment. And that Bretton Woods 2.0 moment would be the introduction of some type of attempt at, stabilizing the global economy. Now, will they try to SDR crap? I don't know. But everybody's racing to get a CBDC out so that they can have something domestically for their own citizens. And I guess, China or Russia will probably be the key players and probably coming up with their own global stabilization monetary structure. And I think that's how gold will play a part in things as well. So just my 2 cents on that. TB says, do you think the Fed is one and done? Your number. One and done as far as the amount of injections that they're going to try to create. It's going to be and so a great example would be this video from Mike Maloney, how it was a dip, recover, then a straight off the cliff. And with all those dip recovers will probably come some form of injection of a currency that will be used to no avail, because they won't succeed. It'll be a temporary paper over. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, this is Matt from Nashville.
Matt from Nashville. What's going on tonight, Matt?
Hey, man, I was just wondering what you thought about Brent Johnson's milkshake theory.
Brent Johnson's milkshake theory. So that's one of the many theories that's circulating as a possibility for the dollar. And so I personally, the trade weighted dollar, i.e. the Dixie, because the rest of the world depends upon a dollar, I can see other economies crashing first. And of course, the flight to safety would then require them to go towards a dollar, which would basically take the dollar to 120, 130. I think David Hunter even talks about, 140 is possibly. But then again, that would be the last spike of the dollar Dixie going to all-time highs, because at that moment, I think the Federal Reserve on our side will have monetized more than they can probably ever imagine having done, Therefore, the confidence in the currency will be gone, therefore leading to the Dixie dropping to some figures that we've never imagined, i.e. checkmate, game over for the Federal Reserve note. So I do think that the milkshake theory is probably still in play, but then that would be the last rally, because after that, the game is up, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I'm thinking that with the euro dollar, I'm not, and I think I agree with them that the euro dollar is probably bigger than the petrodollar.
Yeah.
And that's unknown. For years, I've heard that they've given out like home loans in like Italy or other places, and you get a better interest rate if you take out your loan in a dollar.
Yeah.
And you just get your paychecks and convert your whatever currency you're in whatever country, and pay your note in U.S. dollars, and you get a better interest rate.
Right.
So there is a demand for dollars. I just don't. I listened to George Gaiman had Peter Schiff and Brent Johnson on, and they did another debate, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, and it was pretty interesting.
Yeah.
So I was just hearing your take on it.
No, those guys, like who's right, who's wrong, nobody knows. We know what's coming. And the thing is, I don't think you want to have your entire life's savings and your entire future weighted in something that is being weaponized right now. So that's why I always say, make sure you get your weight up, so at least you'll have something in your own possession that's yours that will be of value at some price in the future. We'll see, but a lot better than a piece of paper or a digit. So, but hey, man,
and the banks they hate when you get your weight up. I'm actually trying to do a cash out refi on a rental property, and they asked me for reserves, and I was like, I told them how much gold and silver that I had, and they said they don't count that as reserves. And I was like,
they do. They do now.
They said, they said, do you have 401k or anything? And I was like, no, I just have couple tens of thousands of dollars of gold and silver, and I only needed like $8,000. I only needed $8,000, and I was like, I got plenty of reserves. They're just not in dollars, and they were like, well, you're gonna have to liquidate some of it. So we'll see.
You might want to go get a loan for one of the European banks that recognize gold as a tier 1 asset. They'll probably give you something favorable in dollar terms. But hey, man,
it's wild.
Appreciate you calling, man. Thanks for calling in.
You got it. I'll see.
Yeah. They want you to get out of your weight and get back in the paper. We'll see. We'll see how that plays out. But anyway, for those that are still tuned in, definitely hit the thumbs up button, show your support for the channel. What do you guys think about yesterday's RTD Q&A with Kurt Ruckert, just shining some light on the forbidden side of Bitcoin? Curious to hear what you guys think. Hello, Carlos. Where are you calling from?
Mike, what's going on, man? It's Karan from Chicago.
Karan from Chicago. What's going on, man? Give me a quick thought.
Yeah, Mike, you're my guy, man. You taught me all about precious metals, man. I'm telling you what, though. But I'm letting you know.
Yeah.
And I see it surely, because you're bringing the right guys on now. All right, the guy, I forgot the guy you brought the other day. He talked about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
In depth. Great interview.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting a full rethinking the dollar Mike capitulation very soon, man.
What do you mean? Give it to me.
Because man, I understand, man.
Yeah.
It's your thing. You've been holding on for a long time.
Yeah.
And the more I read, because again, that's what people understand. The more you don't know Bitcoin by just researching Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin introduced you to things that we weren't taught in school.
Yeah.
They didn't teach about money, the basics of money in school.
Right.
You need to honestly, Mike, and I would love to see it, man,
yeah.
because the spaces are mixed. You got to get Robert Breedlove on, man.
Yeah.
What is Money Show? Talk about what is money, because people don't know what the hell money is.
Yeah.
If you don't know what money is, then what do you know? But I'm saying this though. I'm expecting a full capitulation, and I think it's going to be earlier than later. I hope so. You know what I mean? So I'll throw you a little something. I think you in, though. Fathom that. You tell somebody that, it sounds like a Ponzi. It sounds like BS.
Yeah.
But no, this is truly it. Sometimes it comes, and we just happen to be born here.
Yeah.
But, Mike, that's all I got for you, man. I appreciate you a lot,
man.
Mike.
Appreciate you, man. Thanks for calling in.
All right, take care.
Yeah, so I apologize. I saw it late about no sound. Man, so once again, Crypto Karan, I apologize because you gave us a nice little layout, and it was no sound. So forgive me for that. My button is right here. I hit it by mistake, so I'll edit it out on my side. I apologize for that. Man, I gotta do better with that. But no, he was just talking about the caller was talking about basically about Bitcoin. So I was mentioning how having last night's guest on, and he was just basically saying, hey, don't be the last one to the party. Ultimately, don't be the last one to the party. And so I was letting him know that I've been studying this space for quite some time. I don't think the likelihood of me becoming a preacher or an evangelist for cryptocurrency is non-existent. Like I couldn't do it in good faith of telling people. I will tell you to educate yourself though. Get educated, and it's definitely, if it's something that you deem as something that's viable for you in your future, then do what you have to do. But I just have more confidence in going against the grain, knowing that the bankers, they want to take us towards the digital side of things and not back towards the metals. So here's another thing that should be concerning as well. We have more senators now, more presidents, more politicians, more people talking about taking their pay in Bitcoin, and they're even talking about making Bitcoin legal tender. And that itself goes against ultimately the Constitution, and as well as Article 1, Section 8, establishing what states could do for as money in gold and silver, coining gold and silver as money. So to now go back and want to redo history, that means that if they are able to somehow doctor the forms of currency and expand the amounts, to expand the things that they can consider legal tender, then that right there will give them the same footing to basically say we need to rewrite the Constitution in general. Not they even paying attention to the Constitution, but that'll give them the grounds to say we need to rewrite the whole thing. And if they rewrite the whole thing, that means they're gonna do more damage by taking away more of our rights, property rights, and all that stuff is going to be challenged severely. So that's why I would say do what's best for you. My personal opinion will be, get your weight solidified first, and then you sprinkle on some speculative assets in the form of metals or cryptos or whatever. That would be my personal preference there. But as I mentioned to him, I've been studying, I've been involved in the space for several years now, and I've watched the change. That's what's giving me this point of skepticism. Anyway, hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's Mike from Pacoima, California.
Mike from Cali. What's going on, man?
Oh, not much. I'm just listening tonight, and I just got to say, there's no way that the Fed is going to market pull this.
Mm-hmm.
It can't. It can't.
Yeah.
It's stuck. And if it does, like 1929,
mm-hmm.
then it's game over
for
the equities market. But I don't see them doing that with all the liabilities and the older populations that they got to pay Social Security for. So,
but here's the thing.
I think we're Venezuela here.
So at some point, the game has to come to an end. How it comes to an end, nobody knows, but yet it can't last forever. Now it's a matter, I think they are trying to paint the narrative that they can control things continuously, but yet based upon what, what's happening around the world right now, I don't think they have nowhere near as much control as they would like to have, just because it's all built upon confidence. And right now with this, narrative of inflation and the shelves empty and all that stuff, I think that's a part of the deliberate destruction of our country, as well as just the world's global supply chain in general. But, if people don't have confidence, they're going to continue to have to spend more. Therefore, they're going to have to continue to create more currency to pump out there to meet demand. So that right there in of itself is stealing people's purchasing power. So no matter what, your life will become more expensive. That's the same as them pulling the plug now. It's just more of a slower process, but it's not good for nobody. So it's a win. It's a lose-lose for everybody that's involved in fiat currencies in general, in my opinion.
So I think it will be the amount of goods that will ultimately you'll get less goods. I think the purchasing power will remain for packaging size, but what's actually inside of the package is going to be decreasing. It has been.
Yeah.
Also the purchasing power of the dollar. But fun fact, if just thinking get your weight up, look at Venezuela prices. If you have any doubt in your mind about getting your weight up on anything, any metal, I'm even talking copper. Look at the price of copper in Venezuela and just tell me any kind of physical item isn't a good hedge.
Right. anything in the real world would do better than holding digits in your bank account thinking it's actually yours. So good
anything
stuff, man.
hackable.
Yeah. Hackable. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for calling in.
All right.
Yep.
Hey, have a good one, man.
Yep, you too. Yeah, good stuff, man. Oh man, good stuff. Yeah, and that's where, like, Venezuela and Zimbabwe and all those other nations. We got Lebanon as well. Turkey's starting right now. Those are examples where those people are literally looking to buy anything to get out of the mess that their central banks have got them into. So if the central banks continue to control the transition out of the paper game, out of the commercial bank fiat currency world into a centrally controlled fiat coin of some kind, then they'll continue doing the same thing and just in a new way. And of course, people will be dependent upon them because if you have a job, you will get paid in that coin. And then if you park it somewhere, it's going to be on your app, on the central bank's ledger with some time limit to it, some restrictions to it, and all those type of things that come with that to where, you'll be still in the same game, just under new rules. That's all. If they continue to control the narrative, they'll rewrite the rules to favor them, and nothing will change overall. But then again, it's always a race to real world things. And I think people who are able to actually possess land, that is able to produce you food, as well as whether you can build on it or whatever, that will be the ultimate way of hedging against the tyranny that's coming, because you'll have something that's yours that offers you some type of reward now and into the future, as long as they respect property rights. But I'd imagine that's going to change as well. Anyway, keep it moving. What else we got going on here? For sure. Anybody got any thoughts or questions? Feel free to let me know in the chat, and we can keep it going. Says people think the dollar will collapse, and then what? We go back to normal? Man, y'all on that hopium. Yeah. Going backwards is no longer an option. We have to move forward, and move forward is basically however you paint it for yourself. We know how they want to paint it. They've told us you'll own nothing and be happy with it. And if you don't want to have that as your only option, educating yourself, adding value to the world, and trying to get out of the system as best you can is a start. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's Ed. How you been?
Ed, I'm doing good, my friend. What's on your mind tonight?
Hey, I want to play devil's advocate.
Okay.
I'm living here in Ohio, and I'm going to pretend I've got no news in the last 24 months.
Yeah.
I got no TV, I got no news at all from the internet, from the TV, nothing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the government sent me $12,000 and someone made me put a mask on in the store, and I pulled it down a little bit, went ahead and breathed normally. And then the only thing I haven't been able to get I've been able to get everything I want except the last 2 weeks. I had a hard time getting grapes. Gasoline's a little higher. Shelves aren't empty. My insurance went up a little bit, but I think I'm still ahead. I don't think that $12,000. I think I still got money in my pocket. I got a family of 4. They sent me $12,000. If I have any news at all, I think I'd be floating around pretty good. I think I'd be feeling all right because I wouldn't know any better.
Right.
Maybe ignorance is bliss. Do we bring all this upon ourselves? I've been doing this stuff for 12 years now.
Yeah. Ignorance is bliss, and that's very true. And sometimes, as much as I gravitate towards wanting to know information just for my own curiosity's sake, because I don't want to be ignorant, but yet there is a sense of calm and peace with being ignorant, just because you don't know what's happening around you or know what's happening to you until it does. But then again, those people, in my opinion, have the most to lose, because their entire lifestyle, as well as the value they place on their own life, is in this system. And if it collapses, you also will think your life is tied to it. And that's how we have an astronomical amount of suicides, because people actually think their life is denominated in some currency or in the possessions they have. So those are probably the same people that's more susceptible to, ending their own life as well, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I look back, like starting with Obama in 2008, I started prepping, I started buying guns and, ammo and gold and silver and food and this and that. And I've been worrying and fretting and watching and looking and waiting and thinking and waiting, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I would have been better off with no news, brother.
Yeah. So
I would have money in my pocket, and I wouldn't have to be prepped up, but like I said, I ain't got no problems yet. My point is, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Right. I understand you. I get you.
My point is, we can drive ourselves insane with the worry and the fear. And the Bible, I've been hitting the Bible hard and encouraging words: do not worry, do not fear.
Yeah.
Why worry about
Fret
tomorrow?
Not. Right.
You know, God's in control, and He loves us, and He's going to take care of us. And I think all this stuff we're doing is okay, but we got to keep it balanced. And I know you're about that, but man, sometimes it's really hard.
Right. I must admit, I do struggle with it myself, trying to find that perfect balance. Just because I haven't been living a lifestyle, you know, based upon doom and gloom. Because well before having restrictions on what I could and couldn't do, you know, I was, you know, trying to work and create value as well as travel the world as well. So I wasn't sitting in a bunker waiting on doomsday. I was actually out trying to create what I call an American experience, because I never had that American dream. That was never mine. But I created something called the American experience, which is just me getting out, learning the world. You know, God created this planet. I want to get out and enjoy it. So that's what I've been doing up until, you know, the last 2 years. But, you know, so I get your point, though.
Yeah, praise God. You were smart enough to do that. And I know it's tougher up there in Michigan than it is in a lot of places.
Yeah.
But, you know, let's be smart, but let's also enjoy the times God's given us and
100%.
enjoy our family and our friends and our, you know, just, you know, Ecclesiastes, you know, eat, drink, and be merry, you know, and enjoy the good things that God provides.
Hey, 100%, man. Appreciate you, Ed, for calling, man.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, be good. Bye. Yeah, good stuff, man. And that's where, you know, everything is not doom and gloom. I saw it you know, the way that all the fear is just bombarding us from all the mainstream news is they're telling us about something all the time. But yet, once again, it's up to each and every one of us individually to create our own life story with how and what the way we perceive things, because it all boils down ultimately to perception. Like, you know, we can look at the same thing, but see it from two different angles and respond differently in accordance. So I would rather personally just be in tune with things, not oversaturated with fear and hate, just because also, I mean, beyond that, you know, I always talk about the spiritual element of things. We know it's a spiritual warfare at the very essence of everything. And if you're still alive, you still have a part to play in this, because if you do know something, it is basically your obligation to try to help your fellow man out in some capacity, whether it be through information, education, pointing them to the right source, encouraging them to do certain things that could be better for their future, because you do know. And I do think by you having some form of knowledge as to what's the bigger picture is, you know, you'll kind of you'll carry. I ain't gonna say you'll be you know judged according to what information you do know, but to whom much is given, much is required. And if you have that knowledge, definitely, God, I'm sure want you to use it to help your fellow man out. So anyway, let's keep it moving. Keep it moving. It says clock ticking. What we got here? Oh, let me see here. So we got first of the month. Let's see how this February plays out. I anticipate more of the drums beating in Ukraine and Russia. We got, I think, the Olympic Games, I think, is, if I'm not mistaken, this month as well. So a lot of the athletes are leaving, and there have been several warnings given by the Chinese saying that, you know, don't come over here trying to be, you know, patriotic and question how we do things, or you might be punished, you know, according to Chinese law. So we'll see how that happens. But any minute, some could jump off. But if it doesn't, be grateful that it doesn't. Continue to prepare in the best form of fashion you can. By seeking wisdom through your prayer life, so that you can stay ahead of the game. Yeah, as far as the Olympics, man, I'm not gonna watch that crap. I have no interest in. I'm losing my interest in entertainment in the form of sports, because, you know, that plays into dumbing down, how people are so dumbed down that they actually care. Like right now, everywhere I was on a treadmill, every TV talk about Tom Brady. You know, okay, whoopity woo. I know they got to make money and sell, but no, Tom Brady, okay, good deal. Peace. You know, who cares, man? But then also we're seeing more. I think Drew Brees, it was just announced today that Drew Brees will be accepting a portion of his salary in Bitcoin. So we got LeBron James, you know, getting on board the Bitcoin. So it's just, yeah. And I do think, so just to take a quick glance at the crypto market, because of the correlation between the equities and the crypto space, I definitely see the next major sell-off occurring. So if anybody was thinking about wanting to buy something, yeah, my personal opinion would be just hold off, because it's going to get cheaper. But then here's the kicker. If cryptos, if metals, if anything like that takes a dip as a result of a overall market correction and crash, you better believe all the exchanges will be offline because they're not going to sell at a loss. All the precious metal dealers will have to double their premiums because they're not going to sell at a loss. So technically speaking, right now it might be the cheapest, even though the dip might take it down lower in price-wise. But the question will be, will you be able to get it? And that goes for silver as well. So just something to be aware of. So yeah, use every day as a moment to accumulate if you can. But anyway, people, let's get ready to dial back. I appreciate everybody for hanging out with me today. Hope you guys had a chance to connect amongst the community as well as get some value from the back and forth that we had in the chat. We know what time it is. It's time to continue to move forward. Not looking back. We are creating our own norms moving forward. So let's do it with the wisdom and guidance of the good Lord himself, and everything will work out just fine. And anyway, be back tomorrow. Probably do an earlier stream, but other than that, hope everyone did well. Had a great weekend, things like that. But anyway, be blessed, be safe, stay prayed up, get your weight up, get your calories up. You know what time it is, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.